Hi everyone, it's day 4 of social distancing. It's Thursday. Feels like Wednesday. I think I said something similar like that last week. Um, yeah, this one will probably be a bit short just because I got like hardcore things to do for work and I want to really get into that and not like do that, then take a minute to do this and then go back into it. So just a couple of things. To talk about today. I think the main one is the realization kicked in of what we're at right now, and a little bit of fear. I'll admit. I think it first started when I had a meeting at work, scheduled yesterday, but we had it today, just about contingency plans if any of us get sick. And all of us, to me, really are super important. And if any of us got sick, it would just, uh, it'd be a big deal for all of us. And not just like work wise, but even like, because, I love all my coworkers. So it's like, well, I'd be super bummed, and thinking about that in the back of my head while also taking on their work or vice versa. So that's when it first started. Then like finally started looking at like news stuff, and like the something popped up of like how people in Florida are still going to the beaches and having their spring break, and I was like, what? That's like the worst thing ever. And I was talking to my mom last night and just telling her like, jokingly telling her like, you shouldn't be going out, like, or my kid brother shouldn't be going to work because random people are going in there, you don't know where they're coming from. um Albeit Belle Glade is a really small town, so I mean, we never know. And then today she like had a question of, if they were as hardcore in quarantine as we are here in Illinois. And I said, I don't know, like it came from our governor, whatever. And then I was looking out for like if anything from Florida came out officially, like here, like anything more than 10 people basically is canceled or postponed or anything. And there was nothing like that I could find, at least Googling for 3 minutes, which is a lot in Google time. And that was kind of frustrating, like how come they don't have the restrictions as we do? Not like being like jealous or anything like that, but more like that's really irresponsible. Like that people aren't just taking it seriously because probably their leaders aren't making it that big of a deal, which is not good. So that's when it started kicking into like jokingly thinking that like it's not a big deal, and then like it is. And then just like getting back in contact with my mom and letting her know like what I found. And I don't know, it's just kind of scary to think, when you really think about it. And me combating that fear was just like starting something with work, like doing something that's just normal outside of this whole situation. And it helped. Just talk with some of my coworkers today about things we're doing next week and just normal things, nothing like super crazy. So I'm doing good with that. It really kicked in really hard. Prayer helps a lot too, knowing that we're all, praying about the situation, just because we just don't know. I think that's the worst part. That's something else I have on my list is just not knowing, like not having an end date for all this, because everything's like until further notice or like a tentative date for this to continue. And it's frustrating, but you got to kind of understand too, like our leadership, pretty sure they don't know either. Like I was telling Kique, like I wouldn't want to be the people making the hard fast decisions of what's open and what isn't. Yeah, but you kind of have to look at it that way too. Like no one really knows, just because it's so new, and extend grace that way, but also just be smart and follow what we're being told to do. And yeah, I think that's pretty much for that one. And I think another thing too I wanted to touch on is I know like I've talked to like a couple of people checking in on them and things like that. And most of like, I try not to ask like, how are you doing, but more like, how are things, and what have they been up to. And a lot of people have said that they're bored, or they're like having cabin fever. And like, I haven't felt that way yet of being bored. It's more like a mental exercise. But just kind of expressing how it's okay to feel that way. Like, it's okay to be frustrated or sad or upset, but to not stay there. Definitely, that's just a change of attitude of like I know this is frustrating, but I have to look at it on the bright side, in some way, shape, or form. Like that, like for me, like I said on day one, was like that I'm not sick. Like it's not like I'm in my home miserable. I'm just in my home, just doing life. So yeah, it's okay to feel that way, but it's not okay to be there, because then at least feeling miserable isn't a good place to be mentally, and then it just flows into your physical body. And depending on if you believe it or not, like it'll affect your immune system in some way, shape, or form. And just I was saying that, like, it reminded me of a song. I forgot the song, but it's on one of my playlists on YouTube. Of like, one of the lyrics was like, you don't gain a single thing from misery. I'm like, that's true. If you're just always in that miserable state, you literally won't get any better. But if you're just trying to look at the bright side, trying being the key word, because sometimes looking at the bright side doesn't come quick to some people. That's fine. It's just an exercise to how to do it. So that's one thing. And a funny thing was, I was online yesterday, just like going through Facebook, and comicbook.com really has been on top of giving random news. That's literally been my news source, just because it's pretty unbiased to me, at least. And they announced like the AMC was going to close all their locations for 6 to 12 weeks. And when I told Kique that, he was very upset, like more upset than I thought he would. Just because we have an AMC right here in Rosemont that we go to, and he always gets like popcorn and like a large Coke. And that's like his happy zone. And I know, like we were saying, like once we're done with Whole30, we're gonna like go see a movie and do our usual thing. And then now it's like, oh, we can't even do that. So I thought it was kind of funny. I didn't realize, that it would be a big deal to him, but it was. I guess people that know him know that it was a big deal, or that heard him say that. And the last thing is just this, kind of tying back to the overall what I said before. I think this is a time where all of us in general, as people, as believers, just looking out for each other, and also just to show what we're made of. Like, are we really quick to let circumstances deter us from what we know is true, what we believe? Or do we use it as a way to get us closer to each other or closer to God? And the word that came up was, resilience, like really thriving in this time. I know people get a lot of kudos when they're able to keep at it during rough times, not necessarily when it's always good, because anyone can be like good when it's good, but it's hard to be good when it's not so good. So just to be mindful of that, and I think that applies to any part of life, not just this whole social distancing thing. So yeah, just to keep being resilient and be okay with feeling certain feelings, but definitely don't stay in there too long, because it's not cool. And sometimes those feelings are contagious, and you don't want someone to start feeling that way too. So be the difference. Like, if no one else is changing, then you be the person to change and be resilient. Yeah, so that's day 4. Wow, it's almost, is this 10 minutes? I didn't think it would be that long. Sorry if I look different. Like, I was breaking out, and I just didn't want to put face makeup on so my face can breathe. So I have a little friend right beside my nose. I'm not going to point him out. So yeah, day 4 feels longer, but it's only 4 days, but it's good so far. Yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.